Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends. And folks, what a day. What a day. We are 7 days away from Christmas. Start to get nervous. I know that I'm glad Mrs. Boom isn't here. She'd start getting palpitations because obviously it's 7 days away. But thank you so much for checking us out here. We already got 72 people here. We're going to have a fun show. Hargeet should be here momentarily. He didn't say he wasn't going to be here, but needless to say, we have two killer topics to get into. And again, it's basically, as you saw by the thumbnail, this is an Xbox. Now, I do want to give a shout out to Deadly Headley. You don't know who he is. He's a pretty freaking good dude. And he put out a video that he did about this, breaking down and explaining how genius this is an Xbox marketing is. Now, he said it's not perfect, and he's not wrong. And he points out why it's not perfect, but how Xbox and Microsoft are currently striving to make it a perfect storm, if you will. I asked him if he can join us this evening. He's with the family and he's at a concert. So he couldn't attend, but we are definitely going to get him on and I will ask that you go and you take a look at it. I'm going to add his video to the show notes here. Please give that guy a sub. I believe he was on his way to 1,000, making him
he crossed 1,000.
So he has crossed 1,000. And I would imagine that after you see this video, you're going to want to subscribe to him. Very well spoken, super incredibly knowledgeable. And he really does break it down in a way that he's not talking through you. He's basically giving you the gist, and he makes it very understandable. So again, shout out to Deadly Headley, a rather newer creator that I want to see not only, explode on the scene, which I believe he has, but I definitely want to get him on here as a guest at some point or another. But the topics that we're going to get into today, as you saw by the title, it says Xbox is not dead again, and new hardware has been confirmed. And we're going to split that topic down to the middle. And I say that because Kay and I were talking on the way into the show, and one of the things that we keep seeing on the socials is a lot of misinformation. A lot of concern from PlayStation fans about the longevity or the lifespan of Xbox. There are consistent Xbox or dead videos that are going up on a regular basis. Shout out to, of course, Oh No, It's Alex, who hunts these trolls down and does what Alex knows how to do. And he's been on fire and on a tear as of late. And it's a lot of goalpost moving. It is a lot of fake concern for Xbox. This is a lot of the conversation that you're seeing on the socials are from people that never bought an Xbox, never will buy an Xbox, and these are the same $5,000 rig people that said they didn't need one, but they do want Xbox games. Apparently, Xbox now has games. Somehow they want them, and I say they because we use general statements here. We don't name the names because we don't really swim in those kind of waters, and that's fine. But Kay Asante, welcome back, brother. Nice to see you here.
I'm happy to be here as usual. Always my hump day. I call us the hump day special. Come here. We talk some mess. We have a good time. I think I did send you a message in the private chat there. If you haven't seen it, please take a look. Okay. But no, it's wonderful to be here. Wonderful to hang out with all the great folks that always show up on my chats as well. So
okay, so
thank you for
I see it, and I sent it to him. Let me just copy and paste it again. Hargeet, I have the sent mail. I don't understand what happened, so I'm going to send it again. And yeah, it's okay. So I'm gonna let me just do this real quick. Compose. Hargeet, check your email, brother. It's on the way. I did send it this afternoon, and I don't know what happened, but we will figure it out because when Hargeet's not here, it's usually an issue, and it's probably usually me. But I literally just said to Kay Asante, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm looking at it. Yeah, sent. There you go. Oh, you know what? That is probably I didn't send it. That is from last week.
Oh man. That's
Yeah.
that's
So that's a me thing. Hargeet, I should be.
mm.
I'll apologize in person when he
The
gets in
problem
here.
seemed to be between the mouse and the chair, isn't it?
Indeed, it is, because I'm looking at the scent stuff, and this is from the Game Awards
Mm,
aftermath. I'm like,
mm,
hey, that's
mm,
last week. So, again,
mhm.
apologies. I'll get him in here, and I will apologize. But thank you, Hargeet.
That's right. There you go.
But yeah, I mean, listen, we're gonna have fun with it. Again,
Mhm.
we're gonna on the second half of the topics, we're gonna get into that Satya Nadella. And here he is. Hold on a sec. Hargeet, humble apologies, kind sir. When I looked this afternoon and it said sent, I'm like, oh, I did send it, so I'm good. And it, unfortunately, was last week's. My God, I'm such an old man sometimes. But
So boom, I would say this is some inside baseball. With StreamYard now allowing you to have a perpetual invites, create one per show, and then we have it forever.
just have it forever. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Hargeet, how you doing, sir?
All
Welcome.
right, I'm doing good.
We didn't, obviously you weren't here for my long monologue, but today's show is we're going to get into and look, I know that this aggravates you, especially when it comes to the Xbox marketing. We're going to get into, because the numbers came out. Matt Piscatella does what he does, and Xbox
Okay, yeah.
was down 28% in console sales. Sony was up; they were number one. Xbox was number three, not a surprise, and Switch came in second. And of course, I was telling I mean, listen, it's just, it is what it is. And I have some. I guess you could say I'm a bit aggravated as well, because I was telling Asante, well, whose fault is it they didn't sell consoles? Well, that'd be Xbox, because there were no special bundles. If they would have bundled Call of Duty or at least Game Pass with the console for $200, they would have won NPDs. It seems to be a very easy way of making money, and I don't know what happened, but how you feeling, man? Welcome back.
Yeah, good. Christmas next week, right?
We literally just said
Coming
that.
right
Yeah. 7 days, brother. 7 days.
Yeah.
Now you've been off, right? You take off usually the last couple of weeks.
I
of the
usually
year.
do, but since I changed jobs, I don't have the vacation. So no, I start mine next week. So
Okay, wow,
I have been working. So this is my last week of work until next year. But,
there you go. There you go. But listen, so the way the show is going to break down, I just want to reiterate it because I forgot to send the link like a boo, but we're going to get into how Xbox is not dead again. And second half is going to be about the hardware confirmation from Satya Nadella himself. And I think people are underplaying what he said. I know people are like, yeah, cloud, he's PC, and but he mentions console, and he specifically says console innovation, which means that they are working on a console that is going to be an Xbox, but it's going to be a little bit more. And that is the rumor we hear about, this open-ended or this open source box that could do a bunch of other things that, well, no console has done before. But I do want to open up with the misconceptions that are going on. Now, again, Asante, I'll start first with you. One of the running narratives that I keep seeing on the socials is this fake concern for Xbox being skipped by third parties. That has been a running narrative. As a matter of fact, again, I pulled a particular quote, and I don't name the names here. It's someone that's in the chat regularly, and I don't know if they're a troll or not, but needless to say, I'm going to read it verbatim. Expect more third-party publishers to skip Xbox. That's the unfortunate thing, and Sony will use the money they gain from Xbox's first-party games for money-hatting key games, hurting Xbox's own console consumer base. And I'm not sure if this said person understands like math, and I'm being a little facetious here, but 30%, that's okay. But 70% is, I think, greater. I think it is. I'm just not sure. Could someone please help me in the chat? Because that means Xbox is getting 70% of the take. And from what we understand, specifically Call of Duty, they're getting 80. It's 80-20. They never went back to 70-30. They kept it at 80-20. And by the MPD numbers from Matt, who put them out today, it just so happens to be on PlayStation 5. There were no first-party games in the first 15, the first top 15, And what was number one? Oh, I don't know. What would that be? Oh, that was Call of Duty was number one on PlayStation. So again, no first party games like, let's say, Astrobot, which should have been, right? It won all these awards. Some people should have went out and buy it, right? Makes sense. Maybe Lego Horizon. Nope, neither of those were in the top 15. But I do want to focus our attention on to how does Xbox putting their games on other platforms, taking this, you can play Xbox pretty much anywhere, moving it to a different, again, the way that they were doing it wasn't working. People were not understanding what Game Pass was, and maybe they still don't understand yet. But I think that the way that Deadly Headley explained it in his video regarding this is an Xbox, it is going to bring in new customers, the same customers that everyone is fighting for. Like, I understand you and Hargeet and myself and a lot of people in the chat, and we got almost 450 people here. Maybe 50%, 60, 70% of them have a PC, have a Switch, have a PlayStation 5, and even have an Xbox. I have 3 of the 4 because I don't have a PC. But Hargeet has all 4. You have all 4. There are a lot of people here that have all 4. So I'm just curious to get your opinion, your thoughts about how Xbox is dying, how third-party games and publishers are going to skip Xbox because they don't have enough consoles when anything could be an Xbox. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think where the misconception is, is Sony's old ideology of we got to sell you a box. That's old. And yes, they're selling consoles. That's great, but unfortunately, it's more than that.
So, okay. My thoughts on this is it's a little nuanced, I will say, because it's not quite as cut and dry as all that, right? You're absolutely right in that people have been bemoaning and been crying the death of Xbox. But I've always, every time I hear Xbox is dead, I always ask who is saying that, because more often than not, it basically Xbox is dead to you, right? That's the hidden part, the hidden 2 words that go after that most people don't add. Xbox is dead to me, right? Because it'll continue to live on in perpetuity doing whatever it decides to do. It just won't get any of your money, which is fine, right? Like you vote with your wallet, right? But the idea that Xbox as an entity is dead in general is just kind of foolish. It's just kind of stupid, right? It's only dead when they decide it's dead, and by the numbers, there's no world in which they're closing up shop anytime soon, right? Yes, to your point, it has lost console sales, and it will continue to lose console sales because obviously it's not the sexy market leader these days. And as you've pointed out correctly, there's some decisions they make that is still baffling. We don't know why there was no Call of Duty bundle, but if there was, obviously that would have changed the narrative a bit. Maybe they couldn't release one. We don't know. So that's neither here nor there. But obviously there's a reason why they're and it's their fault why they're not successful in that way. But clearly there are other numbers that seem to paint a different picture of how they're doing in the market, right? The revenues are up. I think was it 8%, 8% of MAUs over the years. In addition to the fact that, right, and in addition to the fact that the places where the consoles are leading, right, where the console leadership exists, a la PlayStation, what is the number 1 game played there? The Xbox, right? So it's really funny to me that when Xbox's games are on PlayStation and PlayStation uses them for whatever purposes they want to use that money for, that is considered cool on PlayStation's part.
Yes.
But when Xbox waits until you, PlayStation, do all the hard work of cultivating the hundreds of millions of owners, of fans, of loyal stablemates, only to then walk into your door, open your door, ask for wallets from every single one of your specific PlayStation people, and they all go, yes, sir, and they keep giving them $1, and that's considered weakness.
Yes.
I don't understand that, because let's be clear here, right? There are things that people don't seem to associate to Xbox or to the gaming market in general, right? One thing, they think they're a hardware companies. They're not. PlayStation is a hardware company, true, but Sony is a hardware company, true, but in the gaming space, they're not actually selling you hardware. Yes, they are, but they're selling you games, right? And the games are what they're trying to continue to sell you, and the consoles are the means to the end of those games, right? And that's one established narrative. Right? The second established narrative is the mark of success is not consoles sold. It's addressable market. It's how many people are in your ecosystem, right? And obviously, for years and years and years, console sales and addressable market were the same thing, right? Because there was the only way you were going to be able to access that addressable market is to have your console there, right? And obviously, because of the advent of the new world, we no longer need that. It's no longer the primary way. It is still the best way, of course, we all agree, but there's also PC, there's also all the very cloud, all this other stuff that various options are using, right? I guess I'm putting the explanation out there to say it's kind of interesting how, because the market leader still defines the market based on the physical sales of those consoles, that seems to be the only thing that matters. When in actual fact, it's the monetary value that they gain from it and the actual addressable market, which Xbox seems to have achieved nirvana, which is, get more people to be in your ecosystem without necessarily growing your console space, right? Like, now I'm not saying that is something to be lauded, right? But depending on how you look at it, it might be, right? If they are looking beyond consoles and they're like, we're at the point where screw this, it's a means to an end. It's always been a means to an end. We no longer want to spend those R&D dollars. They might see these numbers and say, yo, we're heading in the right direction. Less consoles being sold, but our numbers are up, right? But for some reason, because the console leader defines them by console sales, that's the only metric that matters. I think that's a little bit odd, right? What I will say though, the marketing aspect. I love Deadly Headley. I've had him on my show a few times now. Great dude, real good thinker. He actually told me he was gonna put something together about this topic. We actually had him on the show to talk about this topic, and then he released a video on it. Dude knows exactly what he's talking about. Yep. And to his point about them not 100% there, I agree with him wholeheartedly, right? There's a lot of asterisks in the middle of it, right? And you have to do a lot of research, not research, but you have to do a lot of fact finding, if you will, to thread that needle to say, oh, my console, my phone's an Xbox, but I got to do this A, B, C, D, E, F, and G before I can get it there. And even if I am able to get it there, not everything is playable there, and blah, blah, blah. He's absolutely right on that, right? But of course, he was educating the public that sometimes marketing material and marketing as a general term is it's a journey, right? It's not something that one campaign just shows you exactly what you need to see and that's it. First, they show you one piece, then they show you more, and they build to a call to action where you are then expected to go and do it and fact find and all of that. I think he explained it rather well, right? And he actually really educated me on some aspects of it. I think it's good. Now, like, to the point that he was making that I agree with, they're still putting the cart before the horse a bit. So I'll say that if we have to give them a bit of smoke, well. They're even to this day, I still think that they're putting the cart before the horse a little bit, because when you go to those locations to do that thing, it's always, not always, but it's never perfect, right? It's good enough, but good enough should not be good enough.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It needs to be perfection everywhere they happen to be. And right now, it seems like they're in the spreading ourselves thin mode to see how many different avenues we can actually keep people. and then they'll work on refining it. You know what I mean? But while they're working on that, those who are there in those places are going, nah, it's not that great. So they're kind of losing people to Steam, for example. Right. So this is an Xbox campaign, while good, and I think it's actually a very, very interesting campaign, and it's a good one, and they should keep going. Right. I do think that they should double back and wherever people play as a quote unquote Xbox, maybe you build a team that walks through those processes to make sure that experience is good, because in certain times in certain places those experiences aren't necessarily the best, right? But that's the world we're working towards. It's a transition, right? So to double back to the beginning of all of this, if I hear somebody say Xbox is dead, first off, I check and see if there's a gray beard there, because chances are you are, if you're saying that. And secondly, I talk to you, if you're being honest and earnest about it, I talk to you about the idea that it's transitioning to places that maybe it might not be speaking to you, but it's still all right. You know what I mean? Like, in the long run, you'll be all right. One place that I want to talk to you about though, Boom, where I've had a lot of pushback on what I have said, even, and I've heard a lot of people in our community talking about it, which is the fear of third parties not jumping on the ecosystem, right? Yeah. That part, while I don't necessarily agree with that sentiment, the only piece of the puzzle that I do think is valuable is how will Xbox retain people in their ecosystem when a box isn't part of the equation, right? Right now, they're successfully showing people, hey, this is an Xbox, that's an Xbox, whatever. But can you play third-party, non-Xbox, non-first-party stuff? Can you buy and play them on your Xbox non-Xboxes? You know what I'm saying? Like, right. So if this is my Xbox, can I buy and play all manner of Xbox, not just first parties here? Because if the answer is yes, then there's no problem. If the answer is no, then there is definitely a problem, because how will you get your Yakuza? How will you get your, Square games? How will you get that's where people are worried. And right now, today, Microsoft hasn't really made a clear effort in showing people that, hey, the ecosystem still exists. They've only just basically said to people, the first party highway, if you will, still exists, right? The method for you to be able to get your games from a first party perspective or Game Pass, that exists. But what about outside of that? We're not quite sure yet. So even though I agree with you that the idea that third party worry is a thing, until they clear that part up, I think it's still kind of murky. I'm not sure. You understand what I'm saying?
I mean, no. See, this is where the cart before the horse conversation happens.
Exactly.
And it's exactly what he means. Now, granted, if you watch Deadly Headley's video, and I watched it twice, he does explain that there are kinks that need to be ironed out. The one thing he did say, and I absolutely agree with him, is that, well, Xbox is working on that. And again, should the cart go before the horse? No, it shouldn't. Should have all of this been ironed out? Yes. But they're also doing things that have not been done before. Sony will eventually be here. How long they get here, I don't know. Will Nintendo ever get there? I don't think so personally, but they are making strides. Now,
so what I will quickly say is I don't think any of those other criticisms are valid. But the criticisms that those who want to stay in the Xbox ecosystem and don't want to go anywhere else, that there will come a time, if they keep going this way, there will come a time when maybe no third parties exist for them, until Microsoft themselves shows some kind of rails. I don't know, like, define your ecosystem better, right? Outside of the console, define it better. How and why, and the machinations of how a third party can live there. How can I buy my Madden games that are not tied to, not Madden, Madden is tied to Game Pass. How can I buy any non-Game Pass games on these other devices and have them continue? Once you explain that, problem solved. Right?
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
the last part that's still kind of unclear.
And again, that's something that they're going to have to work out. There's no doubt about it. But listen, Hargeet, I want to bring this conversation to you. And obviously, the third-party conversation is something it's incredibly relevant with the community. As you heard Kay Asante say, there are a lot of people that have concerns for what an Xbox is going to be. Well, the thing I can say, I think we can all agree, is that there is other hardware coming. That has been confirmed. You're going to have a handheld. That's absolutely on the way. There is going to be another piece of hardware, the traditional hardware, underneath your box. I find it, again, incredibly disingenuous. And there are some people in here that everyone's welcome. So if you have a different opinion, by all means, throw it in the chat, unless you're going to be a rude asshole, and then I'm going to ban you, because I'm not going to stand for it. But if you have a difference of opinion with me, that's perfectly fine. But I'm interested to get your opinion on this, because third parties skipping the box. Well, what third parties are people talking about? Are they talking about EA or 2K or now Square? Are those skipping Xbox? No. What's not coming to Xbox are some of the, like, for instance, the China project that Sony has currently going on, which I think is awesome. But they have a game that was announced, looks really good. I don't know the name of it, but it's a part of the China project, and it looks. The one thing
you're probably talking Phantom Blade Zero, most likely.
Yeah. So, and again, the game looks fantastic. It really, really does. But again, that's Sony going to find these deals. Now, Sony is probably paying for exclusivity, maybe not. But they are going out and they are searching for these types of games to put on their console that are like Stellar Blade, that are like many of the games that are Souls-like. Those sell very well, or at least decently, on PlayStation. They don't sell 10 million copies, but they'll certainly sell 2-3 million of them. Let me get your thoughts on this. Do you think that there is an inherent problem growing with the way Xbox is saying, hey, this is an Xbox, and somehow or another that's going to scare off developers from putting games actually onto Xbox?
Look, I don't know how far the console is going to go. I really don't. The console has been this kind of weird state. The Switch is the closest to the top selling console of all time, right?
Here in the United States, it did pass the PS2.
Yeah, here it eclipsed the PS2. But it didn't worldwide, and it's pretty close. It might get there. It might actually beat it before the new one comes out. But even when the new one comes out, it's still going to sell for a couple of years, right? So it's a potential it could beat it. So with that, you still have Xbox is kind of hovered around where it is. Like, the original Xbox didn't sell as well because it didn't have a long runway, right? But they had about 70-80 million for the 360, and then it fell to like 60-ish something, and we're at like 20 something here, maybe 30 something in the case of the current series consoles, and that's gonna probably hover around the same 40-50 million, something like that. So it's dipping, but again, it's around the same whatever. It's not really doing anything for them, and I doubt it ever will, right? The problem with Xbox doing that is that they have to make some sort of noise in other territories where they won't sell. It just won't. Like, they hate America. That's just the reality of it. And a lot of people are not going to like Microsoft because it's Microsoft. Right. It is what it is. Microsoft is Microsoft, right? And Microsoft has pissed off enough people that they're like, yeah, go away. And so some people will not care about that. They'll buy it. But the majority of people, they're happy with their PlayStation or their Nintendo. It's a tough sell for Xbox to get in those territories. It's always been that way. And it's always the thing that they have to counter. And what do you do to counter that? Well, I don't know. You say, don't need an Xbox. You can play this way. You can play that way. The one thing they all have to deal with, they all have Windows. And this is the thing they've always had to deal with. At some point, you just say, you bridge the gap. And we've been saying this, right, forever. It's not just point out the same thing. Is like, at some point, you just bridge the gap. The idea of third parties goes away when you say it's Windows. You're just making a game for Windows. That whole third-party thing just goes away because nobody is not going to put their game on Windows. They're all going to put them on Windows. They're all going to do it. At that point, it's a question of, do you add it to the store or not? Right? That's really it. It's, do you add it to the Xbox, the Windows, Microsoft store or not? When it's there, it's there. Done. You're done. That's it. As far as the other side of this, where people aren't maybe paying attention, you know how this whole mobile thing is happening? They want to get their store on Google. But it's not just for Google. It's really for your TV, right? What they want to do is have a game store on your TV, which runs Android.
Yes.
And they want to be on that TV directly selling you your games. What Asante is talking about. How do I get my non-Game Pass games, right? Well, they want to sell that to you. They want that 30% for themselves. So they want their own store there. The question is, how do they get that? How do they get that store there officially? And that's what's going to have to happen, right? Now, they could work with each one of the partners. Or they could say, they have been
working with those partners.
It's
not efficient.
Right. But they could just say, we want an official Android sanctioned Microsoft store. And you will be able to download this game store and you can buy whatever game you want and it will run natively. Now, right now, that's not a relevant thing, right? It's not a relevant thing because the TV isn't powerful enough. You'd have to do a lot of cloud streaming. 20 years from now, it will be. So that's what they're looking at, right? In 20 years, your TV is going to be way more powerful than your current Series X. It just will. So then why can't you just use the TV to play your game? You can, right? Your current TV, if you're anywhere in the last few years, is probably a 360. It's already a 360. So you could play some games right now. It's just going to get better and better and better. That's what's going to happen. It just happens, right? Technology keeps getting better. That at some point will be an Xbox One. It'll be a Series X. You'll have enough power. At that point, it'll matter, right? Now you have to have that store there, but they got to build that up now, right? They got to build it up now. Once they start getting there, in 10 years, it'll become normal, right? Your Xbox games just happen to work on an Android store. Oh, they happen to have entitlement over here and over there and over there. That library just goes with you.
Netflix is doing that right now. All of a sudden, even on your TV, games are popping up here and there. Yeah.
So this is kind of the world, right? So now the question is, what happens in the interim? How do you get like consoles to be relevant? They're going to make the next generation console. They're going to make it. They'll probably sell, 30, 40 million of them, 50 million of them, something like that total. It's where they are. That's their sort of high water mark, right? Now, is that enough for third parties? I would think so. It's a lot, right? We've made this assumption that you have to sell 100 million consoles. That's not normal. 100 million sales is not normal, right? Most consoles don't reach that level. So it's fine. You just have to have a sustainability level where it's useful for a third party to put their game there to make money, right? Because all they care about is, do I get enough potential customers to make money to make the port worth it, right? And this is, again, where if they bridge that gap and say, it's just Windows, just make the game for Windows, and then just say, I want to put it on the Xbox store. If that's all you have to do, the porting cost becomes quite a bit different. Now, usually what happens is for these consoles, you have to sort of, make the performance work, right? Because there's always compromises in the console, but they give you performance edges here and there, right? So you have to tune things. Well, has that really been happening that much? Maybe it has. But what we find is most games come out pretty damn bad. And then after like a year, they finally get it to the point where it kind of works okay, right? If that's really what's going to happen, then just let it go. Just say, give it enough grunt.
Hey,
your
you know what, Hargy?
Grunt. It's like a PC.
you know how much effort they put into a certification, and when it fails, how much they pay in penalty, even only for the game to come out buggy.
It's for bugs. I'm not talking about bugs. I'm talking about performance.
You're talking about performance profiling.
Exactly, right? And like, if you just say, you know what, don't even bother. Just say there's a performance target that runs at about what the Series Next will do, right? And just set it just like on PC, right? Your recommended graphics this much. You have this much GPU, you can do about that much, but it's up to you to tailor to whatever you want.
I think you're downplaying how much effort it takes them to just get it to run as it does on console. Takes a lot of effort.
That's what I'm saying. Eliminate that.
Even for it to run as badly as it does when it gets to you, it takes a lot of effort getting it there. So if you say eliminate that, it's going to be even more dog water than it normally.
No. That's the bridging the gap, right? They got to make it to the point where the development kit just handles whatever is needed, right? To be fair,
that's a long way from now, my friend.
To be fair, PlayStation does a very, very good job with that. Most of their games, they don't take as much support because it just happens. The dev kit takes care of a lot of the headache for them. And that's where Microsoft needs to be, instead of the normal thing they do is to say it's available to you as an option. It's like, no. What you need to do is say you clicked port and it did it all for me. It maximized the potential automatically, and then I can go tweak it later if I want to tweak it more, right? But it does the shit for me, and then, and then it's just done, right? That's where they need to be, right? But what I'm saying is, like, at this point, the performance hasn't been great for the series consoles anyways. It's been okay. In most cases, they tend to get a little bit above the PlayStation 5 after a while, or at launch, they're probably about equal, right? But it's not been like it's night and day better. So fine, whatever. I would say get to the point where it's like PC. Games come out on PC. Many of them are not performance optimized. They take time. They eventually kind of get there. Some do a really good job, but a lot of them don't. But anyway, so that's kind of where they need to get to, is say, you know what, just put it out on PC. Here's a potential performance target. If you want to spend time, great. Don't worry about it. Otherwise, just put it out there, right? But bugs, you're right. It's gotta not have bugs. That's the thing. It's gotta not have bugs, right? Now the certification process, that's a whole other headache, right? Because versus Steam, versus Epic, versus Microsoft Store, the certification process is a little onerous. I don't know if they want to change that or not. That's up to them. But that is one thing they're gonna have to look at. But again, the issue of the third parties that you're bringing up gets solved by saying you're just putting it on Windows, and we're just gonna make it work. It's just gonna be there, right? Just take the virtualization in reverse, right? You can easily say, well, it already is Windows. We're just gonna take the Windows code and let you play, right? What we will take away is you don't have keyboard and mouse interface as naturally, because they do have it, but it's not as natural. But either way, those are the kind of things you have to work through. But that all can be done, right? So I think that's kind of where they're going to head, is they kind of want to have everything everywhere, right? You're going to get a console. For those who want it, buy the console. For those who want to kind of veer towards PC, certainly they don't care there. You're buying a Windows PC, go for it. And then if you want to play on cloud, sure. For those who want to do that, absolutely, go for it. If you want to play on your TV, go for it. If you want to play on your mobile device, go for it. Again, they don't care. They make money. They'll sell some games on PlayStation and Nintendo. Fair enough. Will everything go there? I don't know. Probably. I have no idea. Like very likely. Maybe. I don't know. There's no red line. That's what Phil said, right? That doesn't mean it's going to happen. But who knows? Right? There's probably going to be some exclusives. Maybe. I don't know. But maybe they're not. Right? Like, people keep saying Forza Horizon 5 is going over. My problem with that is, like, when is that due to come out? Is that like a year or two? Like, when does that like have to be removed from the market? Would you really put the game out like and it's like going to go away a year later or something like that? I don't know. But they'll have to kind of work that out for themselves to see if that makes sense. I'd buy it if it was like it's a year after or something like that, right? Because then at least they'd have a runway.
Right.
But that's due probably to come out in like 26, something like that. It's going to get pulled from the market. So,
well, I mean, isn't 26 a possible landing spot for, Horizon 6?
Like, it could be, right? But that's what I'm saying. Title. So if you have Forza Horizon 5 and you want to release it next year onto PlayStation, you give them 1 year to buy that game. Like, well, is that a good idea?
It's kind of a time bomb, right? Because
it's like
license rights. Yep.
Yeah, so it's like that's kind of an odd one to pick. But hey, it may happen. I don't know. But like, I just don't buy that one because of that taking time. I was like, why would you do that to leave a sour taste in the mouth of PlayStation players on a fantastic game, mind you? It's a great game, but you have 1 year to buy. Like, that's just kind of weird. I would just say, like, when 6 comes out, maybe a year later it goes there, something like that. Okay, fine. At least you get a runway, right? It makes a bit more sense. But either way, like, again, I don't know what's going to happen as far as exclusivity. What I know is they're trying to make the business model work for the future and not just stay in the past. And the past is fine, but for all those who think that this is like, the thing that's going to kill Xbox, why is it that PlayStation is the one losing money? Because they just lost money on Lego Horizon. They just lost money on Concord. They are continuously having problems making any one of their games profitable outside of like a handful, right? What is it that's going to make this happen, right? They bought Bungie to make all this cash. How's it been working out? Has that worked out for them? It got to the point where they had to take over. I don't see it. Like, where's their big thing? I'm hoping Kadokawa happens so that at least get From Software. From Software seems to actually sell games. Like, that might make them money, right? They're not in the greatest of shape. Oh, they sell consoles. That's great. Why do you think Jim Ryan pivoted? Because he's a moron? What, he pivoted over to those games because they need cash flow. They have Helldivers. Okay, that sold 12 million copies. That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
But,
yeah.
But is that enough to sustain what they need to do? Compare that to the large games that Nintendo has, the large games that Xbox has. Is that really the thing that they need? They need something substantially larger. And that was what they were hoping with Bungie. But that failed. So I don't know where that is, right? Maybe Marathon is this massive success. We don't know. Good luck to them. Hopefully it is. But it's not looking that way. Fair Games is not looking that good either. Every time they put something out, Intergalactic came out and it's getting more controversy than it should. That's not cool.
The same
either.
thing happened to Ghost of Yotai, and I'm super stoked. I want this to be clear. Ghost of Yotai, I understand people like, oh, I'd rather play as Jin. I hear you, but I'm
but
buying that
Jin's
game.
story isn't over. They said that this is just a side thing.
It's
going to be the
side story.
It's like, just play like, but
And what,
I didn't even get the
problem
whole
do people
Intergalactic
have
thing.
with
I didn't even get
Intergalactic? It looks amazing. What the hell are people talking about?
There's a lot that they have problems with which we're not going to spend 3 hours talking about.
Yeah, we can talk about it afterwards. But yeah, it is another. But this is where they are. This is their reality, right? And we can continue to keep going down it's awesome they sold all these consoles. Consoles aren't the way they're making money, but they are making money off of sales of other people's games. As long as that continues, great. As long as that gravy train allows them to continue, that's awesome. I don't know what happens if there isn't enough enthusiasm behind the brand. And that's where things will be interesting. Nintendo's coming. They're coming. And they're going to have a pretty good offering.
We're hearing 4 games at launch. At least that's what I'm hearing. And supposedly one is going to be a new Mario. And listen.
And Mario Kart. And
make no mistake.
Final Fantasy 9 was it another one?
I don't know if it's going to be that. I heard F-Zero. I heard the Mario Kart. I heard the new Mario 3D Mario. They could launch with a Zelda. It's whatever games come out. It's going to be 1-to-1.
But they're going to have Call of Duty. They're going to have all the games that people play a third party. Those are the games that matter. And once you have that, it becomes a good competitor. And we'll see what happens at that level. Is Nintendo going to keep up? Are they going to kind of say, hey, every year we're still going to release like 6 to 8 games because they continuously keep doing that? Will PlayStation be able to match any of that? Probably not. So look, I don't know how this ends up. Game Pass is still fantastic. And if you look at the Game Pass, like games that are coming next year, it's like, oh my God, how do you even keep up with it? And
exactly.
And if that's not enough for you as a pull, and apparently it's not, then what can you really say? It's up to players to decide if they want value. And a lot of players play mobile. A lot of players play a handful of games, and to them, having a whole bunch of games is irrelevant. Now the real question is what happens to the industry. Let's say Naughty Dog fails with Intergalactic. What happens? How does that move forward? What is the message being sent? Well, the message is kind of getting clearer that these games aren't sustainable anymore. And so what does that mean for the industry? We'll have to see. The only mechanism I'm seeing that allows for those kind of games is Game Pass. And if that's not something that takes off, well then, folks, if you like those kind of games, good luck. That's probably not going to happen for too much longer because this is what happens. Booms and busts of gaming industry is going to happen just like it happened in the movie industry. You used to get all these blockbusters and then they're like, crap, they're not working. We can't spend that kind of money. And then it goes into smaller things. And it's like, hey, we can make money if we make something big. Let's go make Marvel movies and DC movies. Oh, it took off. And then, oh, I kind of sputtered. And this is what happens, right? You get these cycles. And so I don't know what's going to happen next, right? What was kind of cool with Game Pass was consistency, right? I just get my games. That's it. I pay. I keep getting games, which is cool. But if that isn't a model people want to adopt, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes next. So I don't know how this is going to work out. Like, is Xbox dead? Hell no. That's not going to happen, obviously. They're still doubling down. And I doubt they're going to say we're going to spend $100 billion and then throw it away. I don't think that's going to happen. But is it going to change? Is it going to evolve? Sure. But then again, so is the industry. And I don't know if they're ahead of it, if they're doing the right things now. Like, ABK accelerated a whole bunch of things, right? You were saying, is this putting the cart before the horse, right? Well, that problem got exacerbated when you spend $70 billion on ABK. There's just no two ways about it. They just have to kind of deal with the new world they're in. How is this all going to work out? Who knows? But look, as long as you're enthusiastic about the console and they keep selling you one, buy it.
Yeah.
And the more people who do that, the more there are potential customers for all those third-party games, right? But again, I think the next gen, they need to realistically look at how do they bridge the gap between Windows and Xbox and make it the same bloody store. If they don't do that, then they're in this quandary of saying we need to have probably 20 to 30 million players who buy that console as a potential base, at least for those third parties to want to come there, right? So if that doesn't happen, that's going to be a problem for them. But I think they can reach that much. I don't think it's going to be that hard to hit 30 million console buyers. But this is all stuff they have. I'm sure they work out the numbers, right? They know this stuff, right? That's all. Microsoft does numbers all the time, right? And so they must have done the numbers to see what does it really mean. Are they going to eclipse a PlayStation or a Nintendo?
Probably not.
I don't think over the next generation or two. I just don't see that happening. It's very, very unlikely. Could they have beaten them here? Possibly, but they came in a little late. I mean, COVID kind of screwed things up for their release cycle. It is what it is. And now that's hitting PlayStation, right? It is what it is, right? So it kind of got, it pushed out their release cycle a bit. So they didn't hit as early as they could have. PlayStation kind of took off. I doubt that that's going to be able to, be something they're going to catch up on. It looks like they kind of want to shorten the life cycle of this generation for themselves and kind of move to the next one. So we'll see what they do with it. But yeah, I don't. The doom and gloom thing is just constant, and
yeah, it is.
You got to stop with doom and gloom. If you were enthusiastically having fun with something, go and enjoy the thing, right? Just instead of just saying I'm looking forward to it dying, right? Let's just play our games. And I'm just looking at the slate of things I'm getting. My Series X is not going to die tomorrow. It's still available to me, and it will be here probably for the next decade, working fine. The Xbox One is still being supported because guess what? There's so many players out there. So it is what it is, right? Games keep coming out on that thing too, right? The Call of Duty just came out. It's still running on freaking Xbox One. So it is what it is, right? You want to play some games? You got games. If you want to jump into this generation, it'll probably be supported at least for another 8 years. Go play. Just play the games you have and the games that are coming and enjoy it. I don't know that we need to worry about it dying. Now, as far as money and how they make money on these things, hey, they're going to find ways to make as much revenue as they can, and they're going to figure out what inflection point at which it's going to be a problem for their brand, and they're going to try to stay under that. That's it. That's what they're going to do, right? Now, are there going to be games that go over that you might not like? Possibly. Are there going to be games that don't go over because they want to keep some exclusives? Possibly. Again, nothing is written in stone. This is all too much new stuff. Nobody else has ever been this big as a platform holder. Nobody.
Right.
It's just too much of the industry is now in one big publisher that happens to have a platform, and they have to kind of straddle this. And look, if they want to keep buying stuff, which they do, then they have to also prove out we're not going to take things away from gamers. So when a Outer Worlds 2 comes out and you had Outer Worlds 1, they're like, you know what? You can have Outer Worlds 2. That's fine. You can have that as well, right? We're not going to take that away from you, right? This is the stuff that they're putting in place. Because look, these were all the stupid objections they got. Even the FTC changing here does not change the CMA, does not change the EU.
Correct.
And they need those approvals. Yep. Right. So when they go there, every one of those stupid complaints they had, they want to say, well, no, see, this is what we did. We did this. We were very nice. We gave this. We didn't take that away. We put this over there. So, no, we're not bad people. Right. So they're going to want all those things taken care of because that's how they grow. And the third party thing becomes moot when you own enough, first party content that people cannot say that, like, I don't want to play that. Wait, no, I want to play that. Oh, I don't want to play that. No, I want to play that. So then it just goes away. Right. The problem kind of goes away because then people want to engage with your platform simply because you have the games. Right. So we'll see how that goes. But I think that is the way out of this. Right. So I was the one bringing the alarm bells, too, about like if you don't have enough content, people won't come to your platform and therefore the third parties will go away. However, if you own so much content, it won't matter because you will own enough content for people to engage with your platform.
And they do.
A la Nintendo.
Yeah.
Nintendo works on first party. They don't need third party. They work on first party. It was 80+% of their revenue or something like that is first party. And it's like, well, gee willikers, why does that work? Because they have enough content that people want to engage with. That's what you need to do. And they already have a lot. Microsoft already have a lot. If they pick up a couple more things, though, especially if they get some Japanese content, yikes, it's going to be very hard to disengage with them. And that's going to be the interesting thing to see. Now, this is where I think it's awesome. I want the Katakawa thing to happen because then it'll be Microsoft's turn to answer.
Yeah. I mean, we are definitely, again, I think listening to Kay Asante, listening to Hargeet and some of my quips, Xbox isn't dead, folks. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. There's a handheld coming. There is a console coming. And the reason why we know there's a console coming, because we're going to get into that in a second, Satya Nadella basically said so. And he pointed out 4 key points of what they intend to do moving forward. And you hear him say, again, I'm not going to, read it verbatim. I'm going to let him speak for himself. But before we get there, let me just catch up on Super Chat. Scott Woodford has become a new channel member. Scott, salute to you, brother. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Aris_EMS, who's been a channel member for 9 months, says, happy holiday to Boom in chat. Well, happy holidays to you as well, kind sir. He also gifts 5 double barrel gaming memberships, as he has done many, 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 many times before. So, Aris, thank you so much for the generosity. Didas20, who's been a channel member for 23 months, says, I'm back. Salute to all. Salute to you, kind sir. Glad that you're back. We have Finn Jeremias. I think I butchered that last name, but Finn, great to have you here. And once again, thank you so much for the generosity. Finn drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, I wish I could get back all the money I invested. We got lied to. They sold us on great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists. That's why I got an Xbox. Shaking my head. It's BS, Boom. And listen, I can't argue if you are in your feelings about what Phil Spencer said a couple of years ago about great games are going to be where Xbox Game Pass is. That was said, and I'm not making excuses for the $3 trillion company. If you're in your feels and you feel that you were bamboozled, if you will, I can't argue with you. But that statement, of course, was what Hargeet had made mention of. The ABK exacerbated change in a way that a lot of us, as who were pulling for this, we were all rah-rahing the ABK deal, and this is when the money people got involved. And when you ask Daddy Bucks for $70 billion to go buy your new toy, which is ABK, you got to make your money back. And now the money people are in the room, and now the money people are making the decisions. Now, is it right? No. Do I make excuses for them? No, I refuse to do that. They're not buying me my next home. I'm doing that on my own. So, yeah, Finn, I hear you, brother. If you feel disenchanted with the brand and you don't want to step away, there's PC, there's PlayStation, there's Nintendo. A lot of games are going over to PlayStation. How many games? Like Hargeet said, I have no idea. I don't think it's the whole slate personally, but some other people do. But thank you so much for the generosity. Our brother Everborn Saga says Xbox is dead in all caps. Long live Xbox in all caps right after. Finn drops an additional very generous $5 super chat. And Finn says, getting an Xbox over the other platform means missing out on great exclusives that you can only experience on PlayStation, Nintendo, PC. Y'all cool with missing out. But see, that's the thing. I don't miss anything. And I want this to be clear. I don't take that for granted. I don't have other vices. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I'm married. I'm happily married and home with the missus. I have everything. I miss out on nothing. Now, what I do miss out on are certain genre type games like Vampire Survivor or side-scrolling beat-em-ups, because I'm an old school cat, that you can find on Steam, because I don't play on PC. I can afford, I said this the other day, I can afford a 4090 rig tomorrow. I could have it built for me because I'm not building it myself. I have the money. It's very easily attainable. I don't want to be bothered with PC. So I miss out on those games. I'm okay with it. I play on my Xbox, on my PlayStation, and on my Switch. Now, a lot of people can't do that. And I understand that because, again, gaming is a hobby. This hobby is expensive. It's an expensive hobby. Not everyone can afford to have everything. So if you are a gamer that you have to pick a platform and you pick PlayStation, of course you're going to champion Fable and Halo and Gears going over to that platform because that's the platform that you play on. Now, is that going to happen ultimately? I have no idea. I still think that there's a place in this world where the trinity of Xbox stays where it is, on PC, on Play Xbox Anywhere, and on your console. I don't think it needs to go over to PlayStation. I just don't. Now, but I'm not also steering the ship. So that I hope that's a good answer, Finn. But again, we appreciate the generosity.
I mean, if you like those games, like, then you always have to either engage with that platform, or what? I mean, how do you get around it, right? So I will give you an option though. If you really do want to play PlayStation games and you're willing to wait until they come to PC, you can use Boosteroid. No, you don't have to. You can use Boosteroid from your Xbox, and you can buy those in Steam or wherever you want on PC. And Boosteroid will let you just play them in the cloud, and you can stream them to your Xbox. So if that's a way you want to get around it, you can do that. So you can play your PlayStation games on your Xbox. You can do that today if you want to. You would just have to wait until it comes to PC.
Hargi, don't say that too loudly, because you used to be able to do that with GeForce Now until Sony went. So you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, they did.
But right now you can. Now the reason that's not as viable is here they're not giving you a service. What they're doing is they let you host the game on a server.
Yep.
Yeah.
They have the special sauce that lets you translate and play through the cloud, right? So you own the game. It's your game, and you're installing it on a server. So that's how Boosteroid gets around that. Maybe they'll crack down on that, but right now they don't. So you can do that if you want. And Boosteroid runs through the browser on your Xbox. You can go ahead and play your games. I'm just saying, if you want to play those games on an Xbox, you can.
I mean, great point. I didn't even know that. So there you go. Mash in the chat. Welcome back, Mash. And once again, he has done it. He has gifted 10 Double Barrel Gaming memberships, as he's done many times before. Mash, thank you so much for the generosity, brother. Yes, thank you so much for that, Hargeet.
Nice.
I definitely appreciate that. Both Mash and Aris are consistently donating and giving out the Double Barrel Gaming memberships. Please, if you got one of the 15 that were donated today, thank these kind gentlemen. They don't have to do it, and they consistently do. So we are very grateful for that. We also have here Mash, who's been a channel member for 8 months as well, says, I think Xbox is still amazing and my favorite way to play, but it's frustrating seeing 3 out of the 6 Game of the Year noms not on Xbox, or last year's Game of the Year coming late. And I can see where you're frustrated with that. And again, this is where the third-party conversation comes in. We know that the 3 of the 6 he was talking about, some of them are Square. Those eventually are going to be on Xbox. Those are being held up by contracts. We know that they've already talked about it. All of Square stuff is coming to Xbox. And the one with the Monkey King, which they can say whatever they want. We learned that it was a money-hatted deal. Sony, that's what they do. When they don't have their own bangers, they money hat stuff. And that's what they have to do to survive, to get games that Xbox doesn't have. Is it right? No. If you don't have a PlayStation, you're not willing to buy it. I'm waiting for Xbox. And that's fine. I mean, I have so much to play already. I'm not really missing out, but Wukong looks freaking amazing, and I cannot wait to get into it, but I'm willing to wait. But again, I see your point, Mash, and it makes sense. Hey, Black Helmet Man has been a channel member for nearly 40 months, brother. Thank you so much for the generosity and the support. He says Xbox is the only brand in gaming that has been dead for 10 years. Somehow they still make billions of dollars every quarter. And I mean,
yep.
There it is, folks.
Funny,
there it is. Black Helmet Man basically just said exactly what we've all been trying to come across for the last
dead
60
to
minutes.
You.
Yes.
Not to the world.
Not to the world.
Just
not
to you.
Yeah. I mean, again, it is what it is. But look, I do want to do a screen share. I do have that. At least I did have it. Oh yeah, I do. I got it right here. Let me just do that. Okay, because I really want to get your takes on his thoughts and his theories. Some people don't think that a non-gamer should be making the calls, but he is the CEO of Microsoft. Of course, he should be making the calls, and I think what he's on to makes sense of where Xbox is going specifically. And I think more importantly than anything is console. So let me just cue that up. Let me do a screen share. Here we go. I'm actually using Tom Warren's tweet on this. So Tom, thank you so much for putting this out there, brother. Let me just blow it up and get that in here. And then we will let's get that out of here. Hold on just a second. All right. So here it is. Let's play it.
And the love for gaming. If I think about it, right, we chose the secular growth category in entertainment, which we think is gaming, and said, let's double down on it. And it's been a passion for Microsoft ever since. In fact, I think Flight Simulator launched before Windows or Office even. And so it's like one of the longest franchises in this company. And so we said, let's take that joy of gaming everywhere. And that's why even these ads with Xbox now, where we are redefining what it means to be an Xbox fan, it's about being able to enjoy Xbox on all your devices. So our strategy with Activision content now is in full force. We feel fantastic about the progress we've made. And more importantly, I think on long term, as a company, we can bring the best of AI innovation, cloud innovation, console innovation, PC innovation to build the best games that can be enjoyed by gamers everywhere.
And there you go. So look, I know that this is going to be one of those conversations, Hargeet, and I want to go to you first on this, that a lot of people don't care for cloud. And if you're one of those gamers, I hear you. I know, I get it. And maybe AI doesn't, what does AI mean to you as a gamer? Well, probably not much. You know, AI is going to be incorporated into many things, potentially even making games, but certainly in the next set of consoles. AI is going to be a big part of pushing the needle, doing the heavy lifting, if you will. And PC, well, PC doesn't mean anything to me. Now, I am on a PC. I use a PC to produce this show and 4 other ones per week, but my PC is an all-in-one. It's a powerful all-in-one, but it's what I wanted because it gives me a really big screen and I can do all my artwork and I can do all my cutting and I can do everything I need to do to run the channel. That's all I need a PC for. I don't need it for bells and whistles. It's because I don't want that. But where I think the rubber hits the road here, Hargeet, is the innovation in consoles. And he does, yep. And again, I don't know if I've said this on the publicly or in the like live on the air, but I kind of really want to say this before I hand you over the mic. Satya Nadella is the CEO of Microsoft. It's one of the biggest companies, most rich companies in the world. Why am I telling you this? You already know this, but what he says moves a stock market. You have to understand he's responsible for everything that comes out of his mouth, whether it be in a handshake to somebody on the street or an interview like this. He says something that's false, disingenuous, or something else. It could do damage to the brand. And of course, that is when the torches and pitchforks come out by the investors.
Yeah.
So when you hear him tell you in this interview that they have a 4-tier plan for the future of the brand. He didn't specifically say Xbox. He's talking about the brand as an overall, broad stroke. He's talking about AI. He's talking about cloud. He's talking about PC, but he's also more specifically talking about console innovation. I think that's super important to this. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, the innovation part of it is something that they always want to do, right? And the team over there likes to create new hardware. They've also expanded that into the Surface line, which let's remember that they didn't used to make any PCs. They used to just sell the software. Yeah. And then they decided, hey, Apple does this cool stuff with their hardware and matches it with their software. And, we work with our OEMs, but they don't do anything innovative enough to make us look, shine like as Apple does. So we're going to create our own. And that's kind of what, created the Surface line. I think this is kind of the direction they're going to go, even with the console, is gaming needs to expand beyond just the 200 million or whatever console players. And they know that. Everybody's it's just the way it is. You want growth, you have to go beyond. If you're static right where you are, that's not good enough. You need to grow somewhere. So they're going to grow somewhere. Mobile is one avenue, PC is another avenue. I think they're going to look at it the same way they do with Windows to say, we're going to make a marquee device that's going to shine. That'll be an Xbox console, but we're going to give you the secret sauce too. And we'll work with our partners to say, hey, we can make devices with everybody else. And this is kind of just how it expands, right? Now, depending on how they make the software part of that work is where we are. Is this going to be PC-like? Is it going to be Xbox-like? Is it some sort of hybrid thingy? We don't know. And that's kind of where we are, right? So if they can make this connection between the two, maybe it takes another gen. If they can do that, then the world becomes very different. And this whole console like limitation thing that we've been like living with because of the necessities of consoles themselves as they were evolving kind of goes away, right? The reason we've had these is because that Atari makes a bespoke piece of hardware, and well, it takes a specific cartridge, and thou shalt not copy our cartridge type. Okay, cool. And therefore, somebody else wants to come in, they have to make their own thingy. Okay, so now you have to program to each one, right? And it used to be different architectures, different, programming needs, right? So for each one have their own capabilities, and you have to kind of deal with it. It's all become PC now. Everybody, like Nintendo, is running on a freaking NVIDIA, ARM chip with a GPU that you can put in your freaking console, right? It's like in your PC. It's a stupid like RTX 30 series, like GPU. It's built. These are all PCs now, right? We have RTX 20-ish series, but it's really AMD's equivalent, a GPU built into the Series X and PS5 and the Series S for that matter. Right, so these are all just PCs with x86 CPUs, right? Except ARM for Nintendo. So at that point, the compatibility stuff becomes very easy. It's just software. You can port it either. They're all being written on Windows, and they just get ported, right? The tuning part of it, yeah, it's a little bit involved. Not as bad as it used to be. It was way worse. Before, it used to be you had to understand everything about the hardware, and there were very few people who did, and they would go and make the game work. And then like you couldn't do very complex things. That's how it was. And it got better and better and better and better as the tool sets got better and better and better and better, right? So and now we're at the point where it's like it doesn't really matter where this game runs. You can basically take all these games and run them on a freaking phone. It works. They put games on here now, right? You can do it. Is it viable? That's a whole other story, but you can do it. That's kind of where things are going. And so I don't like is this a direction issue with innovation? Is this how is this going to work out with with Xbox versus PlayStation? I would be shocked if they don't make the innovations that they do also apply to PlayStation, because I think they understand that if they want to take advantage of it, well, they can't make something that's only going to work here and not there, because third parties won't use it. Right. This is just one of the things that happens, right? So if you want it to happen, I would be surprised if they don't also give that innovation over to others and sell the innovation, because that's what Microsoft does, right? They'll invent something and say, cool, we'll use it, but you know what? So can you, right? So go ahead and put it in your stuff too. And so I think that's kind of where they're going to go. So yes, their console will be there. I think they're going to have a marquee console that will say, this is an Xbox from us. I think they're also going to say, here's the tech, guys. You can use it too. Whether that's an Xbox branded thing, like in other words, a partnership, whether it goes to a Nintendo, whether it goes to a PlayStation, I think that innovation stuff that they do, they're going to partner with everybody. Yeah. Ultimately, what they want to do is say, if I make the next Elder Scrolls 6 and I put in technology that is only available on Xbox, I'm limiting my potential to put it elsewhere. So they're going to take away that limitation. I think that's kind of how this is. So they're going to innovate. That's what they keep doing. They keep innovating. But one of the things they want to do with that innovation is sell it to everyone, make it available to as many people as possible, right? Whether it's in competing devices or not, they don't care. They want to get their revenue from it. That's all they're looking for, right? So you want to take advantage of their thing, put it in your box, no problem. Give us like half a penny for every box you sell. Good, we're done, right? That's what they're going to look for. They just want the bottom line. They want the money. So, and that also allows them to innovate on the gaming side and take advantage of it on other systems. When, say, the next Call of Duty wants to take advantage of it, and it happens to also work elsewhere, right? So these are just things that they would do. But yeah, they're going to innovate. They're going to make another console. They're going to make another, they're obviously putting stuff in their PCs that, like my latest Surface has Copilot built into it or whatever, right? It has a little button there. I think they're still having trouble getting Windows 11 with that in it, but whatever, that's their problem. It has AI, capabilities built into it too, right? With the chip, right? The NPU is built into my Surface. They're going to continue that pattern too, right? So that does give me some capabilities. That it does some enhancements automatically to games. It's a pretty low powered device for gaming, but it's got those capabilities. But that's what they're going to keep moving forward with. So AI has the ability to upscale, right? It has that ability. Just we got the PISR, the PESSR that came out with PS5 Pro. That's AI capability. They're going to take that. They're also going to give it to the games to be able to do things within the game. That was what was intended to be there with AIML that they had in the Series S and X, but it never really went anywhere that I'm aware of. Maybe they have implemented it somewhere, but it hasn't really gone anywhere that I've seen. That was intended for in-game stuff. The upscaling capabilities, it doesn't have a lot of power to be able to do upscaling that effectively, from what I can understand, but maybe it could do some. But the next one is going to have all that, right? So that's what they're looking at. They're going to keep innovating. But look, this is just the way it is, right? This market is going to continue to grow, and they're going to find paths to give you stuff, whether that goes into a data center somewhere, goes into a TV, goes into a phone, goes into a console, goes into whatever. Your computers will obviously keep getting more and more powerful. That just keeps happening, right? So they're going to keep innovating, and that's what he's saying, right? So the console is there, though. Let's not forget that the console is there. They're still planning to put out a console, and they must see metrics that say that it's worth it for them. So for them, that maybe they're not looking for I need to sell 80 million consoles. Like maybe for them 20 million is enough. Maybe for them 30 million is enough. Maybe for them 40 million is enough, right? They probably have the metrics that make it make sense for them, right? We don't have to look at their market and say for them it has to be this big, otherwise they're going to get rid of it. It is possible. It is possible. But they must have their targets, and they must understand that, where are we going to go? This is where we're going to get, and that's how much we're going to get from market share, right? And let them get their path to make that happen, right? There's also this idea of how much content can they have of their own versus how much can they lock down to their console, right? Because that is an imbalance, right? If you wanted to go buy Take-Two, you cannot make it exclusive.
Of course not. Yeah.
Impossible, right? Just financially alone, it would be impossible. But forget that. The regulators would say, nope, can't do it, right? Taking too much away from everybody else, right? So that's the thing they have to work through, right? And so they're going to keep playing that balance where it's like we have enough brand equity to do this versus we can expand on the revenues that we keep getting. So it's a pain in the neck. It is what it is. But that's the world of business, right? So we'll see what they do with it, but they are at least saying, look, they're going to innovate. That's good, right? We want to hear that from somebody at the top, that we're continuing with console, we're continuing with PC, with AI, all that stuff is going to still happen. So that's good.
Listening to you break that down, Asante, I had a bit of an epiphany, like live on the air. Like I'm sitting here, and the wheel, you can see, look at my face. The wheels are turning because I had a thought and a theory. Now, walk with me, people. Walk with me, chat. Walk with me, panel. Now, their whole shtick is this is an Xbox, right? That's the shtick. Anything can be an Xbox. Now, Asante, I've heard you talk about this not only on this show, but more specifically and more recently when you and John talk on the tech show on Mondays.
Yeah.
And Hargeet brought up a great point. He says, what if Microsoft takes this technology, this innovation in console, and they hand it off to Alienware, and they hand it off to Dell, and they hand it off to Lenovo, and they say, here's the technology, go make an Xbox. And they go and they take the technology and they say, like, when I bought Mrs. Boom's PC, I built it. I built her laptop. I picked the parts. I didn't physically build it, but I picked the parts. I reached out to you. I asked you about a couple of things. Oh, we went with here. Oh, okay, I'll go there. And I put it together. Right? What if the whole shtick for this is an Xbox is exactly what Hargeet Chani literally just said, and the console innovation that Satya Nadella literally just talked about is getting this innovation in console. They're going to have a box. People like me are going to go out and buy the box, and they're going to put it underneath their TV, and it's supposedly going to be this open source where you play your Steam, where you play your Epic Game Store. Like, that doesn't matter to me because I don't have either libraries in either of them. But I do have all my Xbox games, which is why I'm going to buy the console. They sell 20 million of them. I'm sure that's fine. But what if other companies start selling and building Xboxes for people who want more power? Like, they go to Dell and they say, yeah, okay, I'm going to spend $1,800 on this box. I mean, is that what's happening here? Do you think that is ultimately the future and why they can still produce their own content, meaning their own hardware as well as something else?
What you just said here, the last thing you just said there, that's the eventuality. I don't think that happens in the short term because that would require them losing profiles first in order for that eventuality to happen. But it is an eventuality. I of course agree with Hargeet. You've heard me talk about this in many forums at this point. The way I will approach this conversation is to those who have this weird idea about them not communicating or them not facilitating each other. You know, like Hargeet's talking about, they just want the money. Like to you, consumer, they are doing this tit for tat battle, but in the background, there's a lot of instances where they are consumers and the other ones are customers. Even Sony is a Microsoft customer, and Microsoft is a Sony customer. Like, it happens all the time. When Microsoft was building the Surface, building the HoloLens device, which has been depreciated at this point, a lot of those optics were Sony optics that were coming out, and they actually had a deal where they would get high grade, super high quality optics from Sony, specifically Sony. More in line with what you guys would be aware of. Have you heard of a little game called Helldivers 2? I heard it does pretty well. Apex Legends, anyone? You know, Rainbow Six Siege, Hitman, Dead by Daylight, Among Us, all running on Azure servers. You heard me. The game that everyone's loving on PlayStation, that's the greatest thing that's gonna crush Xbox. Yeah, it's running on a Microsoft Azure servers, right? They all run on PlayFab, right? So this whole idea that they don't communicate, this whole idea that they don't that Microsoft is not somehow, you know, succeeding, or that they're not innovating, or they're out of the console, like, that's just not true. They are positioning themselves to be part of the transaction in any way, shape, or form that you look at it, right? If you're a consumer, they want to sell you games. If you're a developer, they want to sell you a development platform, right? If you're a publisher, they want to sell you a hyperscaler. Hyperscalers are basically AWS and Azure and all the various big clouds, right? They want to sell you their hyperscaler. So, and how do they sell that to you? Oh, look at this. It's gaming related. It's all completely ready for you. And, you know, don't go with AWS where you have to roll your own. No. We already have, like, basically the entire thing. All you need to do is bring your game engine and you can basically develop the whole thing in the cloud. They are basically servicing every customer they can find, whether that is you, the customer, buying the end product, right, where they get paid, or you, the developer, who's trying to make that product. They'll get money from you as well, right? That's what they're doing here, right? So as innovation changes, right, does this automatically mean consoles are with us forever? I happen to think so, but I wouldn't say that that's what Satya is saying here, right? It's exactly, I'm being a little self-serving. I wrote an article about it some time ago. Like, I would really think that that's what they're talking about when they say console innovation. They're talking about a reference design. They're talking about, like, this is what makes up an Xbox. And if you want to make an Xbox, you have to adhere to these design notes. Now you too, Razer, can make an Xbox. You too, Lenovo, can possibly make an Xbox, right? ROG, you can add a set-top box or desktop or under the TV box to your ROG line. So now you can have an ally and you can have the ROG Xbox at home, right? That's an eventuality, I suspect, what's going on here, right? But what he's talking about, which I really thought was very weird, that people were they were reading new details into it, because I didn't really see anything new here. They're just doubling down on what they've been saying all this time, right? We're gonna keep innovating, and we're gonna keep selling it as a service. That's all they're doing. They are innovating, creating new stuff, and then selling it as a service. So selling it to you, Game Pass customer, as a service, or selling it to you, developer, as a subscription tier to help you develop your games. That's what they're doing, right? And to Hargeet's point, they don't invest billions upon billions of dollars only to turn tail and then run later, right? Like, it's hilarious. I saw some folks in the chat talking about, well, they tried this with Steam machines. Yes, they tried this with Steam machines and it failed miserably. You know why? Because Gabe didn't want to use Windows. And guess what every game runs on? Windows. Now,
yeah.
On that point, he's actually trying again, and now he has a trick called Proton, but that's a whole different conversation. But still, there's a reason why Steam machines failed, right? And these guys make the platform that everyone plays games on. So it's an apples and oranges kind of a comparison. But I'm excited to see what they do here, right? Because they want, like Hargeet says, right? They are planning for tomorrow and the day after, not just today, right? And in that world, console innovation can mean something completely different than what you know it to mean today, right? It could be a virtual console that follows you wherever you go, that is put on every other box. Who knows what we're talking about, right? The world is changing, and they are changing as well. So,
I mean, listen, it's a good thought. It's a good conversation we had here this evening. Again, the innovation is happening. Consoles are still going to exist. Xbox consoles are still going to exist. I don't care what any one of the trolls try to tell you. I mean, listen. Is that, and I agree with Hargeet. Is Xbox ever going to sell as many consoles as the Switch or PlayStation? No,
doubtful.
But I don't think that they need to. And I think that is where a lot of the PlayStation gamers are stuck in the past. You keep telling us about your console sale numbers, and I understand that, and no one is discounting that. But it is not just about console. Consoles make you minuscule money because of how much they cost. Why do you think the Pro at starting price is $700? Because Sony no longer wants to take an L for their console sales, where they were losing $150 per console. They're making you pay for that console. And you know what? You know what's very interesting regarding the PlayStation 5 Pro? There are no sales numbers specifically to talk about how many people bought it. Why? Because it's $700 to start. And if you need all the other stuff, it gets up there of $800 plus, and nobody's spending that kind of money. People are just happy with their PlayStation 5s. Only the real enthusiasts would go out and buy that. But consoles are still going to be around. There's going to be a PlayStation 6, even though King David believes there isn't. There's going to be a new Nintendo, because we know there's one coming out next year. And the next Xbox, or at least the next two Xbox consoles, one a handheld and one a traditional underneath your TV box, will be coming out in 2026. This is happening, folks. They've already told us this is happening, and you literally just heard Satya Nadella talk about innovation in console along with everything else, which means that they have plans that go way into the future. But if you don't believe so, and like I said, I said this yesterday, if you are disenchanted with the brand, because a lot of people say, well, Phil lied. Phil did not lie. Phil said what he could say at the time, and I'm telling you, this ABK deal, and I had made mention of that, Hargeet, when you stepped away for a second, really changed a lot, much more than we would have thought that it would change. The money people are now involved. They are making the big decisions, and that's why games are going here, there, and everywhere. I don't agree with that. Those tactics. I'm old school like that. But it's just the way of the business. But at the end of the day, folks, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me, Hargeet, K. Asante. Let me just get the last couple of super chats. Shout out to Noof Nukem. We haven't seen him in a minute. Noof, we got to get you back on the show, brother. Hopefully you are doing well all the way in Canada. Thank you so much for popping in. We have Pissed in the chat, drops a very generous $20 super chat. And Pissed goes on to say, all the people boo-hooing saying Phil lied are delusional. From the get-go, it has always been said that games are going over on a case-by-case basis. Could every case it goes over, not a lie. It's not, but could be. So I think what he was trying to say there is that it's not every case going over, but it could be. And if it is, then at that point, it's a lie. Look, I know, first of all, Piss, thank you so much for the generosity, brother. We super appreciate it. The thing is this with the going over. 4 games went over, and that's it. 4 games are going over next year. We know Indiana Jones was an exclusive. It's no longer. It's coming in May, right? That's fine. You know that the next Call of Duty, like Black Ops 6, is going to release on PlayStation and be number 1 on PlayStation the same way it is now. You also have Doom, The Dark Ages, a multi-plat before. It's a prequel to the current the new Doom or the relaunched Doom from 2016. That was everywhere. This is going to be everywhere as well. And now The Outer Worlds 2, again, a game that was on PlayStation, is going back onto PlayStation. Now, do they add anything else to that? Well, I don't know, because I think Hargeet really knocked it out of the park, and with Kay Asante talking about it doesn't make sense for Horizon because that's going to be sunsetted soon, right? Because they're going to lose the rights for the music and stuff, just like they did with 4. And 4 is going to get, buy it, you can play it, but they're not going to be able to sell it after a certain point. So does that make sense? I don't think so. Is it Starfield? Is it Hellblade 2 that goes next? I have no idea. We'll see. But we know 4 are going over there. So again, when you start hearing people say about whole slate, well, that hasn't happened yet. And most of the games that are going over next year were already on PlayStation. There's nothing that's changed. These are just sequels. The one thing that's going is Indiana Jones. Does that bother you? I mean, maybe, but it is what it is. It's business, folks. But thank you so much for checking us out here. Let's get everyone out of here. We are closing in on the 90-minute mark. Hey, Asante, let's sell the brand. I would imagine that you're going to have a great show this upcoming Saturday. As a matter of fact, if I believe it is the last show of the year.
Indeed, it is. Yes.
So let's get some asses in seats and get some eyes and ears on the show for this Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is the Gaming Circle podcast with Kay Asante and the Everborn Saga, Mr. Slander himself. Talk about it, brother. Where can people subscribe to your YouTube channel? But more importantly, tune in this Saturday morning.
Yeah, well, as usual, I want to thank everybody for being here. Thanks for having me. As usual, it's always fun to be on the show and give you my takes and hear all these interesting folks talk about how they feel about gaming. But you can find me, K Asante, TK Asante, on all the places we talk, as well as on youtube.com/The Gaming Circle Podcast. And myself and Everborn will be doing on Saturday the final episode, as Boom has said, of the Gaming Circle Podcast. We'll have a bunch of folks coming in and out. I'm sure it will be a cacophony of madness. Last week's the second to last episode was 4.5 hours against my own better judgment, and I was standing through the whole thing, so it was just absolutely hilarious. I suspect this week will be probably similar. So come check us out. And that'll be the last episode of the year, and we'll be back again next year, of course, and start on that again. But should be fun. We'll probably recap the year, talk about some of the fun games we're playing. Maybe even talk about what our games of the year is, which I'm looking forward to discussing with the community. So yeah, come check us out. Thank you all so much. Talk soon.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. And Hargeet Chani, let's sell the brand. Not only do you have a YouTube channel where people should, in fact, subscribe, but you also wrote a book and launched that this year called Emergence. So tell everyone where they can potentially buy that. Follow you you can't follow him on social medias, but you can reach out to him on other places like Xbox Live and Discord, which he will strike up a conversation with you there. Talk about it, brother. Sell the brand.
Yeah, so H Chani on Discord and Xbox. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, it's Hargy Chani 1 on YouTube. And then, if you want to pick up my book, it's shop.chani.us. Check it out. And I'll be on with C Money and Doodle on Friday. We'll be at 8 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time on Point for Gamers. I'm assuming we're still on for with Fawns and me on Saturday and Sunday with Web Dave. So 6 p.m. on Saturday on Fawns Gaming and 7 p.m. on Sunday with Web Dave. I'm not sure what we're doing next, Boom. We'll discuss maybe, but I'm assuming Christmas we're probably not going to have a show.
We will not be having a podcast on Christmas, Christmas or New Year's Eve, which would be the 31st. We're not going to be doing that. I will be having a couple of shows next week, Monday, Tuesday. I want to see if I can get some people for the Christmas Eve show. I don't know if we're going to do a giveaway because we're doing a big giveaway this Friday. But we might just come and talk about, again, something similar to what Asante said, our favorite games, what we're playing, just kind of have like a chill stream and talk about our favorite games of the year, what we're actually looking forward to in 2025, what is one or two or three of our most anticipated games, just to give you guys and gals something to listen to. Unfortunately, Mrs. Boom only has off on Christmas. She's working Monday, Tuesday, off Wednesday, working Thursday and Friday, which sucks, but that's the job. And, I'll be here. And, again, those shows will only run maybe about 60, 70-ish minutes, but we'll have fun with them. We'll make them work. And obviously, a big thank you to everyone here. A huge thank you to all of the Super Chats and the new channel members. Thanks to MASH and, of course, Aris_EMS for donating those memberships. We certainly appreciate it here. And again, like you heard me say a minute ago, don't forget to tune in this Friday, folks. It is the biggest show of the year for us, and it's the biggest and most money we've ever given away at any one time. Mrs. Boom and I are celebrating our 7th annual Christmas with Mr. and Mrs. BoomStick on Breakfast with Boom, as it's been for the last 7 years. That show is 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are giving away $2,000 in 2 hours. That's right. You heard me correctly. That's right. $2,000 in 2 hours. I don't think it's ever been done. And that money is not coming from corporation sponsors or anyone that, money hatting us. No, Sony didn't money hat us. No, that is coming from the generosity of the community. The Super Chats come in, the channel memberships come in. We tuck them away for the end of the year. And we have 10 $100 prizes going out to your platform of choice, your gift card of choice. It is a digital gift card to Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo eShop, or now Steam. And the 4 grand prize winners, this is something we're doing something different this year. We're giving those as cash prizes. 4 $250 cash prizes, 1 winner per prize. And how does that happen? Well, the first 7 winners are going to be channel members. If you're a channel member, you got a shot of winning the first one of 7 of the 5 $100 gift cards, or one of 2 of the grand prize winners. The next 7 will be anyone that's in the chat that puts the hashtag that we have under lock and key, and we will put into the chat Friday morning. You put that in there, and the picker here on StreamYards will, of course, pick your name. And if you win, well, you win. You pay nothing. You get your gift, and you have a great holiday. And it's all thanks to the generosity of the people here who donate. And it's just our small way of kind of paying it forward for the generosity. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We super appreciate it. For Hargy Chani, for Asante, for myself, have a great evening. Enjoy gaming on whatever you enjoy gaming on. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids, and he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode. Or actually, we'll see you in the new year on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends.